What if your difficulty in loving yourself isn't because something's wrong with you, but because no one ever showed you how? In 2026, countless people are learning to accomplish more, be more, and improve themselves. Yet so few are learning to be gentle, to truly rest, and to approach themselves with tenderness. Perhaps you've spent years being harsh with yourself, constantly moving forward, carrying unspoken shame, remorse, or uncertainty about who you are. And still, here you are, breathing, persisting, present. This isn't about transforming into a different person. This is about recognizing who you've always been. What follows are 10 Buddhist teachings to deepen your self-love. Not through force, not through selfishness, but through gentleness, truth, and depth. Listen without hurrying. Allow these words to settle naturally. This is an intimate dialogue with your deepest self. Let's begin. Lesson 1. You deserve love. Before you become better, one of the most profound hurts people carry is believing they must earn kindness from themselves. You might think, I'll accept myself once I've healed, once I'm more consistent, once I stop failing, once everything falls into place. But Buddhist wisdom offers something completely different. Your value isn't dependent on conditions. Compassion isn't earned through flawlessness. You don't need to repair yourself before deserving your own care. You are deserving of love simply by being alive. The Buddha never taught self-rejection as a path to transformation. He taught presence. He taught comprehension. And comprehension starts with being gentle. Consider how you respond to a loved one during their struggles. You don't penalize them for their humanity. You don't withhold love until they've improved. You remain. You hear them. You soften toward them. Yet with yourself, you might act differently. You judge your imperfections. You revisit your mistakes repeatedly.
You use words toward yourself you'd never direct at another person. This internal severity doesn't foster change. It breeds anxiety. And anxiety cannot be the ground from which self-love grows. In Buddhism, there's a meditation called metta, or loving kindness. It starts not with others, but within. Quietly, softly, you're invited to whisper, "May I be protected. May I find peace. May I be released from needless pain." Notice if this feels strange. Notice any inner resistance. That resistance isn't failure. It's simply showing how long you've gone without extending kindness inward. Loving yourself doesn't mean dismissing your development. It means building a nurturing internal space where development unfolds organically. Seeds don't flourish through self-hatred. They flourish because the earth is patient. In 2026, remember this. You aren't a puzzle to fix. You are a being to cherish. And love doesn't start after you've healed. Love is what makes healing possible. Lesson 2. Stop abandoning yourself for others' acceptance. Many people think their challenge is self-love, but the real struggle is self-abandonment. Through the years, you may have learned, quietly, unconsciously, to suppress your needs, to maintain harmony, to agree when everything in you says no, to appear happy when you feel overlooked, to minimize yourself so others stay comfortable. Buddhism reveals that suffering emerges when we distance ourselves from truth. And the most devastating truth to abandon is your own. Every time you silence your authentic voice for validation, something within grows weary, not angry, just exhausted. You start feeling detached, bitter, invisible. Not because you lack strength, but because your spirit has been requesting to be recognized. Loving yourself means deciding to stop vanishing. It means inquiring, what am I genuinely feeling? What do I truly need right now? What am I accepting that silently wounds me? You're permitted to establish boundaries.
You're permitted to evolve. You're permitted to let down people who thrived on your compliance. The Buddha described the middle way, a balanced path. Not excessive self-denial, not excessive self-centeredness, but profound self-honor. You don't owe explanations for your boundaries to everyone. You don't need authorization to safeguard your vitality. You don't need to diminish yourself to demonstrate your worth. When you start remaining true to yourself, some won't comprehend. That's acceptable. They connected with the version of you that survived through accommodation. Now you're evolving into someone who thrives through inner listening. Self-love isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's simply a quiet resolution. I won't abandon myself today. And with each honest self-choice, trust gradually rebuilds, security slowly restores, and authentic love begins taking root inside you. Lesson 3. Your thoughts aren't your identity. If you listen carefully, you might detect an inner voice that's never content. A voice that criticizes, compares, recalls past errors, predicts future disappointments. Many believe this voice defines them. But Buddhism reveals a freeing truth. You aren't your thoughts. You are the consciousness observing them. Thoughts emerge. Thoughts fade. Like clouds drifting across the sky. Some clouds appear dark, others heavy, yet the sky remains unmarred by them. When you merge with every thought, suffering intensifies. A single error becomes your narrative. A fleeting doubt becomes your character. But when you witness thoughts rather than surrendering to them, space emerges. The Buddha taught mindfulness not as domination, but as clear perception. When the next critical thought surfaces, try this. Don't debate it. Don't pursue it. Simply observe it. Quietly acknowledge a thought has appeared. That brief pause holds power. It establishes distance between you and self-criticism. Loving yourself doesn't require manufactured positivity. It requires not accepting every negative thought as truth. You can recognize pain without converting it to self-punishment. You can acknowledge fear without allowing it to shape your identity. Your mind has developed many patterns, some formed through survival, others through suffering, some through isolation. These aren't defects, they're habits, and habits soften when approached with awareness rather than struggle. In 2026, self-love starts with understanding this. You're not damaged because your mind is active. You're human. And underneath the mental noise exists a quiet presence within you that's always been complete. Lesson 4. Rest is self-respect, not laziness. Many carry subtle shame when resting. Even when exhausted,
The mind murmurs, "You should accomplish more. You haven't deserved this. Others work harder than you." This conviction runs deep, particularly in a culture equating value with output. But Buddhism presents a gentler reality. Rest isn't something earned only through depletion. Rest is essential for living with lucidity. The Buddha taught the middle way, equilibrium between exertion and relaxation. Excessive striving creates burnout. Excessive avoidance creates stagnation. Wisdom recognizes when to engage and when to withdraw. When you refuse yourself rest, you're not demonstrating discipline. You're becoming disconnected. Your body communicates continuously through weariness, strain, weight, and subtle reluctance. When these messages are dismissed, the heart becomes estranged from itself. Self-love emerges when you pay attention. Rest isn't surrender. It's returning. Returning to breathing. Returning to now. Returning to the body that sustained you through everything. In 2026, loving yourself might mean decelerating when the world demands speed. It might mean selecting fewer obligations. It might mean guarding your evenings, your mornings, your internal quietude. You're not here to exhaust yourself toward validation.
You're here to exist fully. The Buddha himself rested under the Bodhi tree, not to avoid existence, but to perceive it truthfully. From quietness, wisdom emerged. When you permit yourself rest without shame, something meaningful occurs. Your nervous system eases. Your thoughts grow less severe. Your heart becomes more reachable. Rest generates space, and space invites compassion inside. Tell yourself tenderly, "I'm allowed to stop. I don't need to validate my worth. My existence is sufficient." Rest isn't frailty. It's an expression of self-honor. And self-honor is among the most fundamental forms of self-love. Lesson 5. Forgive yourself for not knowing what you know now. One of the most agonizing obstacles to self-love is regret. You might replay past moments thinking, "If only I'd understood better. If only I'd decided differently. If only I'd been braver." But Buddhism reveals that wisdom develops gradually. You cannot impose today's understanding on yesterday's situations. You weren't supposed to know then what you comprehend now. Every version of you was doing its best with the awareness available. Self-forgiveness isn't avoidance, it's seeing reality. The Buddha taught that suffering intensifies when we grasp what's unchangeable. The past can't be rewritten, but how you relate to it can transform. Rather than asking, "Why did I do that?" try asking, "What was I attempting to protect? What frightened me? What hurt was I carrying?" When you look truthfully, you might discover your past decisions weren't born from cruelty, but from bewilderment, terror, or seeking safety and connection. Forgiveness starts when criticism transforms into comprehension. You don't heal through punishing yourself for being human. You heal by allowing compassion to replace condemnation. Try this gentle practice. Place your hand on your heart. Breathe deliberately and say, "I forgive myself for what I couldn't know.
I respect the version of me that endured.
I free myself from perpetual self-condemnation. Observe what surfaces: sorrow, liberation, opposition. Everything is acceptable. Forgiveness isn't a singular event. It's a tender returning, repeatedly, to kindness. In Buddhism, freedom doesn't come from deleting the past. It comes from no longer being trapped by it. When you forgive yourself, vitality returns, imagination returns, tranquility returns. You cease dragging yesterday into today. In 2026, let self-love signify this. You stop requiring perfection from your former self. You extend appreciation instead, because that version delivered you here. And here is where restoration starts. Lesson 6. You're allowed to change without justifying it. Growth frequently feels unsettling, not because it's incorrect, but because it challenges expectations. As you develop, people might observe, you've transformed. You're not the same. You used to be different. And they might be accurate. Buddhism teaches anicca, impermanence, the reality that everything transforms. Resisting change means resisting existence itself. Yet many remain confined in obsolete identities through fear of disappointing others. You might have surpassed roles you previously occupied, convictions you formerly maintained, connections that no longer mirror who you're becoming. Loving yourself means permitting this metamorphosis without remorse. You don't owe unchanging consistency to people who only recognized an earlier you. You owe truthfulness to yourself. Change doesn't demand proclamation. It doesn't require rationalization. It doesn't require consent. The lotus doesn't apologize for opening. It doesn't justify itself to the mud. When you respect your development, you might initially feel isolated. But isolation isn't defeat. It's frequently the interval between who you were and who you're becoming. The Buddha departed his previous existence, not through rejection, but through authenticity. He listened inward despite misunderstanding. In 2026, self-love might mean selecting congruence over acceptance, authenticity over convenience, internal serenity over external affirmation. You're permitted to redefine yourself. You're permitted to choose differently. You're permitted to walk a more tranquil, more gradual, more genuine path. Change isn't disloyalty, it's honesty. And honesty is profound respect for your own existence. Lesson 7. Stop measuring your value against others. One of the subtlest forms of abandoning self-love is comparison. You might not do it obviously. You might not initially recognize it, but your mind glances outward and whispers, "They're ahead. They've solved it. They're more content. I should be further along." Buddhism reveals that comparison is a type of misunderstanding. Not because noticing differences is wrong, but because you're overlooking something crucial. No two existences unfold identically. You're not delayed. You're not trailing. You're not missing some secret others discovered. You're simply experiencing your existence. When comparing yourself to others, you reduce your life to a competition with invented milestones. You assess your interior using someone's exterior. But what you observe of others is always partial. You don't witness their anxieties, their private sorrows, their hidden battles. The Buddha revealed that desire creates suffering. Comparison is a refined form of desire.
wanting to be elsewhere, someone else, something more. But peace doesn't reside there. Every journey has concealed challenges. Every person bears unseen burdens. When measuring your life against others, you miss the quiet triumphs you've achieved, the moments you persevered when quitting seemed easier, the courage required to survive moments nobody celebrated, the internal development that occurred even when nothing externally shifted.
Self-love expands when you stop questioning, how do I measure up? And start asking, how do I relate to my existence with honesty and care? Buddhism reminds us, the present moment suffices, not because it's flawless, but because it's genuine. In 2026, comparison is more accessible than ever. Social media displays selected happiness, refined achievement, polished composure. But none of that captures a complete human existence. Your journey doesn't need to appear remarkable. It needs to feel authentic. Try this contemplation. Instead of noticing what others possess, notice what you've survived. Instead of monitoring others' progress, acknowledge your own journey. When comparison surfaces, gently say, "This isn't my journey. This isn't my schedule. I return to my own existence," and sense the relief following. You were never meant to exist as a duplicate. You were never meant to satisfy others' expectations. You were meant to experience your existence internally, not judge it externally. Loving yourself means standing securely in your own narrative and allowing other narratives to be precisely what they are. Lesson 8. Learn to be with yourself without distraction. Many believe they struggle with self-love because they're excessively harsh with themselves. But frequently, the deeper challenge is this: they don't know how to be solitary with themselves in silence. Distraction has become perpetual. Noise occupies every void. Screens cushion discomfort. Busyness prevents contemplation. But Buddhism teaches that wisdom doesn't arrive through noise. It arrives through stillness. To love yourself more, you must willingly encounter yourself as you are, without evasion. When sitting quietly, emotions might surface: agitation, melancholy, solitude, thoughts you've evaded. This doesn't indicate something's amiss. It indicates something's finally being acknowledged. The Buddha taught that awareness itself heals, not repairing, not forcing, simply observing. Many fear stillness, believing it'll expose something intolerable. But it typically reveals tenderness, aspects of you that have waited patiently for recognition. You don't need flawless meditation. You don't need extended practices. You only need honesty. Try this. Sit quietly, briefly. No phone, no music, no objectives. Notice what emerges. Don't critique it. Don't examine it. Just notice. This is how self-trust rebuilds. When constantly distracting yourself, you unconsciously communicate, "I cannot be with you," and the self responds by retreating. But when choosing presence, even momentarily, something transforms. You start feeling anchored, less scattered, more integrated. Self-love isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it's simply remaining. Remaining with your breathing. Remaining with your emotions. Remaining when the mind wants to flee. In Buddhism, liberation starts when we stop avoiding. In 2026,
Loving yourself might mean accomplishing less, but experiencing more. Permitting silence to communicate, permitting truth to emerge. Stillness doesn't separate you, it reconnects you. Because when able to sit with yourself without distraction, you stop fearing your internal world. And when you stop fearing it, compassion surfaces naturally. You recognize, I can accompany myself. I'm not endangered here. I'm not isolated. And from that quiet recognition, a more profound, more stable self-love develops. Lesson 9. Make peace with who you're becoming. One of the most neglected sources of internal conflict is the subtle tension between who you were and who you're becoming. You might hold an image of yourself from before, how you once thought, loved, worked, or aspired. And when your present self no longer matches that image, confusion emerges. You might question, why don't I feel the same? Why don't I want what I previously wanted? This internal questioning isn't indicating failure, it's indicating growth. Buddhism teaches the self isn't a permanent identity.
It's a process perpetually unfolding, shaped by experience, awareness, and insight. When attempting to hold yourself to an outdated version, suffering amplifies. You start resisting your own development. Loving yourself means permitting this change to occur without criticism. In 2026, many feel pressured to sustain a consistent identity, to remain identifiable, predictable, and comprehensible. But spiritual maturation frequently moves oppositely. It introduces complexity, subtlety, and quieter values. You might care less about validation and more about preserving your tranquility. You might desire profundity over velocity, authenticity over acceptance. This transition can feel bewildering, particularly if others anticipate you remaining unchanged. But Buddhism reminds us, impermanence isn't threatening. It's existence's essence. When resisting who you're becoming, you generate internal conflict. You might criticize yourself for diminished motivation, excessive sensitivity, or insufficient ambition. But what if these shifts aren't deficits? What if they're enhancements? The Buddha taught wisdom emerges from perceiving clearly, and clarity frequently accompanies releasing illusions about achievement, about identity, about who you believed you needed to be. Rather than asking, what's defective in me? Try asking, what's attempting to surface? Self-love intensifies when you stop clinging to old stories and permit your existence to reorganize around truth. Growth doesn't always resemble expansion. Sometimes it resembles simplification. Sometimes it resembles departing. Sometimes it resembles selecting a quieter happiness. There might be mourning in this process, mourning for previous aspirations, for connections no longer aligned, for the person you anticipated becoming. Buddhism doesn't request you circumvent this mourning. It requests you observe it with compassion. You're permitted to grieve what no longer fits. You're permitted to honor who you were.
And you're permitted to advance without completely knowing who you're becoming. Try this contemplation. Instead of demanding certainty, extend curiosity. Instead of criticism, extend patience. Tell yourself, I'm transitioning. I don't need every answer presently. I trust this unfolding. When making peace with becoming, you stop compelling yourself into shapes that harm. You stop measuring your value by obsolete objectives.
you start living congruently with what feels honest. In Buddhism, peace isn't discovered in control. It's discovered in acceptance. The version of you that's emerging doesn't need your opposition. It needs your encouragement. And when you extend that encouragement gently, without force, you start experiencing a more profound form of self-love. One that doesn't grasp the past or hasten the future. One that stands peacefully in the present and declares, "This is who I am today, and that's enough." Lesson 10. Let compassion become your inner voice. The final teaching in learning to love yourself more isn't about altering your behaviors, upgrading your mentality, or becoming superior. It's about transforming your relationship with yourself. How you address yourself, particularly during difficulty, shapes your entire internal reality. Many carry an internal voice that's judgmental, impatient, or contemptuous. This voice might sound familiar, even persuasive. But Buddhism teaches that suffering isn't solely caused by external situations. It's also generated by our inner dialogue's tone. Compassion isn't weakness. It's wisdom manifested. The Buddha taught genuine understanding is inseparable from gentleness. When perceiving clearly, you no longer need cruelty toward yourself or others. Notice what occurs when you struggle. Do you instantly criticize? Do you intensify pressure on yourself? Do you retract affection until you improve? This isn't motivation. This is fear disguised as discipline. Self-love develops when compassion becomes your automatic response. Not exclusively during success, but particularly during failure, bewilderment, and emotional distress. Compassion doesn't mean evading accountability. It means responding to difficulty without inflicting unnecessary suffering. When addressing yourself harshly, your nervous system constricts, your body tenses, your mind becomes guarded, growth decelerates. But when speaking to yourself with understanding, the system releases, clarity emerges, healing becomes accessible. In Buddhism, compassion begins with acknowledgement, acknowledging pain, acknowledging effort, acknowledging humanity. Next time feeling overwhelmed, try pausing and saying, "This is challenging. Anyone in my situation would struggle. I'm permitted to take this gradually." These words aren't justifications, they're recognitions. You're not meant to wage war against yourself. Many believe they must be severe to improve. But severity without compassion creates exhaustion. Compassion builds resilience. Consider how you'd address a child learning something new. You wouldn't shame them for stumbling. You'd encourage another attempt. That identical tone is needed internally. The Buddha taught loving kindness as daily practice, not because existence is consistently kind, but because the heart requires cultivation. Compassion isn't automatic for most. It's learned, practiced, returned to repeatedly. In 2026, loving yourself might resemble changing nothing externally, but transforming the internal environment where everything's experienced. Your thoughts might still drift. You might still make errors. Existence might still be uncertain. But your relationship with yourself can become more steady, gentler, more secure. When compassion becomes how you speak to yourself, you stop fearing your own feelings. You stop penalizing yourself for being human.
you start feeling internally supported. And that support transforms everything.
This isn't your journey's conclusion. It's the foundation for moving forward. If you've listened until now, notice something significant. You appeared for yourself. These 10 Buddhist teachings aren't meant for mastery. They're meant for living, slowly, gently, one moment at a time. Loving yourself more in 2026 isn't about achieving perfection. It's about becoming present, truthful, and compassionate with who you already are. If this message touched you and you'd like more teachings on mindfulness, internal peace, and quiet wisdom, consider subscribing. Your presence helps us share tranquility and clarity with others globally. Thank you for listening. May you be gentle with yourself. May you find peace. May you continue your journey with awareness and grace.